All right, boys and girls, let's do a quick update for today and also the big day tomorrow. FOMC rate decision is going to be huge volatility tomorrow. But anyway, let's start with AMD. Nope, did not score on AMD, ran up instead. Inline results. They pretty much, I mean, they different sources have different numbers, etc. But it looks like they were pretty much in line in terms of what they released on October 6th when they said they were going to be guiding down. All right. So there you have it. 62.11 up slightly here in the after hours. And my whole thesis on AMD was the weekly bear flag, and that's what I didn't like. But this time it did not work out because it is actually pretty much, I mean, still within the bear flag, but they had inline results. And a lot of companies will do that, right? They kind of set you up for bad expectations, set you up for failure. And once the market realizes, hey, they did just as bad as they said they were going to do. Therefore, the market goes, the stock goes up a little bit. Okay. So anyway, let's move on to the Qs and let's move on to tomorrow. So far, pretty big dip today, right? They ran this thing up 282 in the pre-market just to fake everybody out. ISM data was bad. Jolts job opening data was bad as well. Bad in terms of it's going to be in terms of the labor market is still pretty hot, right? And that's exactly the reverse or the inverse of what the Feds want. Okay. So we have a big question ahead of us, right? The big question is what kind of power or what kind of power are we going to get tomorrow? Okay. So I did a quick poll and it looks like everybody or nearly 50% of people do think that we will get an angry Powell, and not so many people think we're going to get 50 BPS. Now, there is that little rumorville going around that's going to be 50 BPS. I highly doubt that. I'm going to fight that. I do not think they're going to do 50 BPS. However, the real wild card is what Powell will say. And the whole thing of this whole run up has lately been about, will they pivot? Okay. Will they ease up in December? Part of this run up is because that WSJ article that set this whole thing off. Now, one of two things can happen. Powell is going to say, or discount or disregard that article. Okay. If he even mentions that article, I think the market's going to dump. Okay. The other thing that can happen is that it's midterm election. He doesn't want to crash the market, so he's going to be a little empathetic, right? And potentially save some 401ks, and he's going to sound more dovish side, and potentially signaling a easing into December. Okay, so that's what we're up against tomorrow, and who knows what the market will do. But typically, when we run into these type of situations, you look at this run up here, this run up here, this run up here, this here, this here, this here. All of these run ups have been decimated, okay, over the course of this entire bear market since November or since January, okay, or December, sorry. All right. So, what makes this particular time different? Every single time we run up, it's always been about the expectation that, hey, Powell's going to be dovish. Hey, Powell is going to ease up a little bit. What makes this time different? In my view, there's there's nothing different. We have another counter trend rally, and I do believe that Powell, okay, is going to put the hammer down and says no. Inflation is still sticky, PCE is still high, and we can probably expect a high CPI on November 14th. Okay. I do not think he's going to let up. All right. I do not think that he's going to give you any indication that he's going to pivot. I think the message will be similar to Jackson Hole. All right. So I'm willing to place a wager. So with that being said, I'm going to not wake up tomorrow. Sorry. Not, I'm going to take the morning off. I don't think I want to trade whatever's happening in the market in the first few hours of the day. All right. It's going to be a lot of fake outs, but I do expect the market to hold 275. Maybe it takes a dip down to 272. And then we kind of just mellow out and wait for the Feds, which is at 2 p.m. tomorrow, followed by a press conference at 2:30 p.m., which the entire world is going to be watching. Okay. So with that being said, if tomorrow happens the way I think it is, I'm going to put a downside target. Okay. I'm going to say a downside target. We're going to hit if the market tanks on its hawkishness. I'm going to say 267, 266 is going to be my downside target tomorrow. If it does not happen the way it does, and we could play it both ways, guys. Don't worry about whether we're going to be right or wrong. It doesn't matter. It's just my opinion. I do think if he does sound dovish and potentially signaling a pivot, and I'm wrong, great. Let's go for that moving average 200 on the daily, which will place us about 293. So those are targets. Either way, I think we're going to see big moves tomorrow about 2 p.m. I think what I'll do is buy some puts for the initial reaction of the 75 BPS and then take the knife, okay, and then wait to see what Powell says. All right. There's going to be a lot of green candles, a lot of red candles too. It really comes down to what he says. 75 BPS, it's almost expected. But remember, we also expected 75 BPS back in what, September? And look what happened. Look at this run up in September, expecting 75 BPS and a dovish Powell, and then we tanked and made a subsequent low. Look what's happening here again. We're doing the same thing again. Oversold, overbought stochastics. All right, so that's why I'm very. This is the reason I'm thinking the way I'm thinking for tomorrow. On the weekly, we still have bear flags. Okay, this even if we run up, we're going to start creating some head and shoulders again. All right. So far in the week, not looking good. I know it's only Tuesday, but this is a bear flag that is going to could eventually break down. All right. AMD is still on a weekly bull flag or bear flag as well. If you go to SPY, okay, same thing. We're rejecting SMA 20 here. This is a second attempt for SPY on the weekly. Still a nice bear flag going into this meeting. All right. We've seen this time and time again, and it just keeps happening. And bulls aren't learning the lesson. Now, I could obviously be very wrong. Okay. I totally get that. And I'm totally open to being wrong about tomorrow, too. I would love nothing but a direction. All right. At least for a few days, give us some direction. All right. If he does 50 BPS, which I don't think will happen, if it does, the market will rally like crazy. Look at SPY on a daily here. We rejected the moving average 200 today. So SPY compared to Qs are doing a little bit better. However, it did get rejected pretty heavily at the moving average 200, right in time with all the news on the ISM, PMI, ISM, JOLTS data, etc. All right, so that's the agenda that we're working with tomorrow. Real quick here, Tesla, right? Once again, rejecting that area too. If you look at the weekly, all right, for Tesla, all right, this is your typical bear flag setup as well. Okay, so this is what I'm saying. On your apples, Apple does on the weekly has some type of symmetrical triangle going on, but this bear flag broke down as well. AMD, same thing. Google took a murder today. Look at this bear flag, worked out perfectly, right? Bear flags don't always work out, but there's a strong possibility, usually in the 70 percentile, that bear flags do work out. You look at Amazon, what happened with Amazon today? Same thing with their weekly bear flag as well, and that broke down. We can see, right? So, with that being said, hope you guys have a great night. Tomorrow's a big day. I'm not going to put out a watch list tomorrow. I'm just going to sit and wait until where the market wants to take us for Powell. But I'm thinking once again, if we get dovish Powell, all right, we're going here. There's going to be a breakout over 284 pretty quickly. If there is a hawkish Powell with 75 BPS, I do think we're going to see 260s once again. All right. With that, I'll see you.